So, I don't know about you, but I'm deeply moved.
That was fantastic.
We hope you are too. But anyway, why are we here?
We are here to review the next album in the Camel catalogue, The Snow Goose.
The Snow Goose, if you will. This is just fantastic. This is just such a great album. I can't find fault in any of this. I think it works fantastically as a single piece of music. It is a concept album. And I could put on any song on there and think it's brilliant. It's just one of those things where it all seemed to come together and it was great.
Yes. Why does it work? Why does that work and Tales of Topographic Oceans work less so?
They had less money. This was their... Right, people, we notice now, we better do something good. And they did. Big time. It's interesting, they actually, when they've done Mirage, they actually went away with the plan to, let's do a concept album. What concept shall we do? And they came up with lots of different ideas. Interesting. One of the ideas was Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, which was obviously links to Close to the Edge, and interestingly it was abandoned. They went away, attempted it, nothing came of it. Maybe it's just not albumable.
I think they chose an interesting sort of basis for their album. I don't.
It's a funny one,
yeah. The Snow Goose isn't. I don't think it's particularly zeitgeisty of that time. I don't think like Siddhartha would have been.
Yeah.
I think they even looked at Steppenwolf as well.
They did. Yeah.
Hermann Hesse thing. So obviously Hermann Hesse was big in those days.
Yeah, he was obviously the cool hippie guy.
I think that works in its favour a little bit. But I've listened to the album a lot and I was kind of interested to see if I read The Snow Goose how it would change my perceptions of the album. And it does a little bit, I have to say. You're better off not actually reading the book because the book's kind of...
Right.
Although it's a kid's story, it's kind of melancholic. What this does is because you sort of read The Snow Goose as an adult, you take different things away from it. This kind of... It kind of takes it back to a kid's story because it is ultimately a kid's story, and you sort of it brings you back there, which is a good thing, but is problematic if you're particularly attached to the story of the Snow Goose. And that's the same with anything. If you've got preconceptions of something and it doesn't live up to those preconceptions, which invariably it won't because everyone takes something different away from it. I think this is as pretty much as good as you can get that with that kind of idea, in the sense that it kind of follows through.
If they try to construct a concept album, it's got to be about the Snow Goose. So each track is about the Snow Goose, and we're going to start with this. It would end up being contrived, obviously, because if it was contrived, it would be too contrived. And they haven't. They've just written some brilliant music, and it just works.
I think it benefits from the fact that there's not really any vocals on there.
Definitely.
All the vocals is not really spoken word.
Yeah, there's vocals but not singing, which is completely superfluous. Yeah, right, we're going to do the songs then because there's 16 of them.
Track 1, The Great Marsh.
Interesting that the first two albums surprised me because they started so suddenly. I was expecting the slow start, the Shining You Crazy Diamond kind of thing, because this is definitely like that. There's a minute of nothing, and it just fades in ever so slowly, and then you get a nice little flourish.
Phantasmagorical. It's not even a word. Fantasyful. That's not a word either.
Fantasyful. And we move on to Rhayader, and we start introducing the themes, and it's all rather lovely. And there's some, of course, there's some good guitar on it. We know there's going to be some good guitar on it. I tell you what, the star of the show is the flute. Yeah, it does go along with track 3, Rhayader Goes to Town. Yeah, that's kind of one piece of music really, isn't it? Obviously with Rhayader Goes to Town it gets going. So you've introduced melodies and you've had some nice stuff in Rhayader. Rhayader Goes to Town is where the band's playing, so it's another jamming song really, isn't it? I think what's really interesting is the very, very Floydian bit. And there is some bluesy guitar on there. And that's a rare occurrence of Andy Latimer doing something more bluesy and doing something that bit really does sound like Pink Floyd because of that. He's not as good at it as Dave Gilmour, but then Dave Gilmour only does that and nothing else. Andy Latimer does a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's interesting to say because I was reading an interview with Andy Latimer and he considers himself a blues guitarist.
That doesn't surprise me.
And the band that he was playing in before was a blues band. It's one of the tracks where you sort of realise that there's a bit of a disconnect between the story and the music. This is where it sets up that the protagonist, which is Rhayader, which is kind of a strange name. He's a bit of he's got a hunchback and a gammy hand, and people don't like him. They shun him in town, and that kind of thing. And it doesn't go as melancholic as all that. Expect a sense of anger with the music, which isn't there.
It sounds like Rhayader goes out on the town.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
And it's that kind of thing that the reason it's much better to just listen to the music and make up your own story.
Yeah, but that's good. That's what it should be. You shouldn't link it completely with something else. It's like, I mean, even The Wall is open to interpretation. That's why the movie doesn't work. But
the thing with this is that the structure of the album and all the tracks, you could literally read the story along with this.
Right.
I mean, you could, in the time it takes you to listen to it, you could easily read the full story.
He probably does consider himself a blues guitarist because he played in blues bands, but I think the point is that this is European music. When Bowie says, the European canon is here, Bowie is quintessentially Americanised, and he can't get away from it. Even he's done moments of very European music, but ultimately it's always from a Western perspective, from an Americanised perspective. This is purely European music.
Track 4.
Yeah, so track 4. We've had our introduction, haven't we? Now we start our journey, if you like. And Sanctuary is the next song, and it's a little thing with 2 guitars on. Very Steve Hackett, folky, with a nice melody on top. And I think it's in there. He introduces a couple of the melodies, particularly Snow Goose is hinted at before we actually get there, which is very cool.
Track 5.
Fritha. People could argue this was a bit of a filler track, but there's some nice stuff in there, and it's all about building it up towards. And really, these 2 tracks are building it towards the Snow Goose, musically.
Track 6.
And we get on to the Snow Goose, one of the main themes, obviously. It's the beautiful gliding tone of a guitar. There's nothing wrong with having such a wide range of emotions in your music. Just because it's rock music doesn't mean it has to be like the Batman song in the Lego movie. There's different things you can do, and there's nothing wrong with having something that is once in a while.
It's quite magisterial almost.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. Friendship. There's no reason for this piece of music to be called Friendship, other than obviously it fits the story. It's kind of funny if you listen to it, and that's called Friendship. But it's cool. I think it's a wind quartet, isn't it? It's woodwind.
Yeah.
And it's great. I really like it.
It kind of evokes birds.
Yeah.
It sounds like the honking of a goose, doesn't it?
Does.
Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Migration. Things start to get going now. And we have vocals, it's just the melody. And there's some great rhythm section stuff going on as well. It's just a great little jam.
Number 9.
But obviously that momentum brings us on, builds perfectly to Rhayader Alone, which is just a sad little thing. And obviously that build down means that when we get to the flight of the Snow Goose, it's flight of the Snow Goose, and that's one of the real main themes. I think it's an important track. It's only 2 minutes 40 now, but it's a really important track. And I think if the album finished there, that would be alright. It would be short, it'd be about half an hour, but that would be a good album. Even if it stopped there, and it's all still to come. Preparation. I think this is the best song on the album. It starts with a kind of feeling of preparing, a kind of preparation. Oh, I'm preparing for something. Ooh. But first minute or so is like that, and then it fades into this fantastic melancholy of sort of it's coming. You know, that feeling of I'm going to be doing something. Oh, there's only a day to go now. Building up to Dunkirk. You've got the what I would call the marching section, which is your slow riff, and then it gets going, and it really does get going. Certainly the battle section of that, you could compare that directly to Get to Delirium. The battle section in Get to Delirium. Similar sort of thing.
I'd kind of like a little bit more bang. This is the big exciting moment of the whole album, really. This is pinnacle where everything should
build up to. But the build up is often better than the actual payoff, and I think it is here. I think the previous track is better than this track, but I really like it.
Mm-hmm. And sort of the title Dunkirk, it brings it back into the real world almost, because you've got all these cool names like Fritha and Rhayader, and you think it's kind of
magical land of magical pixies.
It's kind of sort of slightly fantasy, and then Dunkirk is a real.
Everybody knows what Dunkirk is, yeah.
Yeah, but that brings us to Epitaph.
Yeah, which is the reprise of the preparation scariness, but so same thing again, brilliant. So obviously preparation, Dunkirk, Epitaph is one thing.
To the conclusion of the album.
Fritha Alone. This is lovely. It's almost completely solo piano. There's a little bit of keyboards underneath, very slow in the mix, but basically it's solo piano piece. And again, it's all about the low before the high.
Track 15.
La Princesse Perdue. I don't know what that is, but this is great, and it's the reprise of the Flight of the Snow Goose, and it actually resolves the melody, and brilliant, lovely.
I think it means the Princess of Hope or something like that.
Oh, right. And some great playing on that one. Great playing. It really does bring it properly to an end. And you don't really need the next track. Again, it could finish there and that would be fine.
But it's like bookending the album, isn't it? The Great Marsh.
Yeah. So we reviewed the Snow Goose. I thought it would be a bit difficult to review because it's just good. And if you like interesting rock music that isn't necessarily sort of fashion oriented, you should have this album. It's not that well known, not really. Although it's their most famous album. Camel themselves aren't that well known. So yes, buy it. Buy it now. Quick, come on.
It's definitely one to have in your collection. Compositionally, it's very, very good.
Brilliant.
From a performance point of view, it's pretty good. And crucially, it was critically well received.
Yeah.
And those three ingredients equal a successful album, basically.
Yeah. And they did the Albert Hall with an orchestra and didn't film it. It's not enough money. Very expensive in those days.
What are we doing next week? Moon Madness.
Moon Madness next week.